Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we are talking about the running backs as the NFL draft is just over 2 weeks away. Aaron Wilson, an NFL insider, is reporting that the Giants have heavy interest in one of the fan favorites in this class, Trey Benson, the running back out of Florida State. We'll break down Benson, and then to close the show, I'll go through my top 5 rankings for the running backs in this year's NFL draft class. But first, I got to make sure everybody watching today's video is subscribed to the channel. I went and looked at the analytics on this channel, and still 50% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. What are you doing? What do I got to do to get you to hit that big red subscribe button? We're going live for the NFL draft, and I want to see you there. So subscribe and turn your notifications on and help us get to 46,000 subscribers. Alrighty, when it comes to the running back position for the Giants heading into the NFL draft, I do believe that they need to select a talented individual there. Whether it's running back, whether it's tight end or wide receiver, the Giants need to add more offensive firepower and more weapons to this offense. We know that the running back that wore number 26 is no longer on this team, and he's playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. You went out and signed Devin Singletary in NFL free agency, so now your running back room looks like this. Singletary is your lead back. He's going to be the bell cow for this offense. And you got guys like Gary Brightwell, Eric Gray, Jonathon Corbin. Signed Dante Miller over the weekend, only has 6 collegiate rushes in his career before transferring from Columbia, and you got Deion Jackson as well. So you definitely need more firepower and home run hitting ability at this position group. Aaron Wilson was the one who had the report saying Florida State running back Trey Benson ran a 4.39 40, had 906 rushing yards and 14 TDs last season, is drawing heavy interest from the Giants per a league source. Could see them making a move to land him. He does have a top 30 visit with the Dallas Cowboys and several other teams. There is no doubt about it that Trey Benson, if not the best athlete in this class, maybe just the most pro-ready back, I would say. I have some questions about what he can be in this league, but he is a special athlete. And he won the NFL Combine at the running back position. You look at his relative athletic score from MathBomb on Twitter. Shout out to them. Give them a follow. Awesome work. He came in at just over 6 foot, 216 pounds, threw up 225 pounds 23 times on the bench. A little bit low of vertical leap. Doesn't really matter too much at the running back position, but I do think that shows kind of some traits to his explosiveness. Graded out really well in his broad jump, ran a 4.38 40, and he had a good 10-yard split and a good 20-yard split, which if you watch his tape, or at least when I watched his tape, I didn't think the 40 really replicated onto on-field production, most notably in that 10-yard and 20-yard split, because I do think it takes him a little bit of while to get to his top speed. We'll talk about some pros and cons around the corner, but the guy was really good for Florida State this past year. Started off his college career at Oregon, played 10 games for the Ducks in 2021. Didn't get much work, not a lot of production, just not a lot of usage. Then he transferred to Florida State, and over the last 2 years, nearly 2,000 yards on the ground, over 24 touchdowns on the ground, 6.4 yards per carry in 2022, 5.8 in 2023. He is a big-time player. But to be completely honest with you, I'm a little bit lower on Trey Benson than a lot of other people that cover the NFL draft. I absolutely see what they fall in love with, but some of the things that I saw on tape make me just question what his ultimate ceiling is in this league. I think he has one of the higher floors in this running back class, but I'm just not so sure how good he will be when his peak maybe does or does not come in this league. So let's talk about some pros and cons. He has prototypical size. We talked about it. 6 foot, almost 220 pounds. He is a physical runner. He is an elite athlete, no doubt about it. But like we talked about, I don't think his combine stuff always translated to the football field. I think he's a little bit stiff in his lateral movement. Sometimes you talk about a running back and you're like, that guy can make anyone miss in a phone booth. That's not really Benson. I think he's somewhat slow when moving side to side, but when he puts his foot in the ground and he decides he wants to run downhill, he'll get it going, and his size and his strength will start to follow. And that's where I think he really excels. His speed to power is probably my favorite trait that he possesses as a runner. He knows how to go slow to and fast through the hole and use that size and that speed to generate yards after contact. You're not bringing this guy down with an arm tackle inside the box. You're going to need to gang tackle him, and you're going to have to get a good hit on him. Definitely great when it comes to speed to power. But I think he is still trying to learn to be a running back. So often you watch this player, and you're like, this is just a bodybuilder that ran track that plays football. So I worry a little bit about that. I think he still needs to be better at reading the line of scrimmage and finding the running lane and the hole to go after. So he's still learning to do that and still has plenty of time to do that. Something that I think is underrated when you do watch these running backs is how do they fare in pass protection? And I think Benson is at the top of the class in this regard. Being 6 foot, 220 pounds, and being extremely strong like he is going to help him. He's a willing blocker. I think he'd be better, but I think he's already a solid player in that aspect. He is limited in the passing game. Only 33 catches in his college career. And it was one of those situations that I always find myself in when I'm evaluating players. Is it they didn't ask him to do it, and that's why he didn't do it? Or they didn't ask him to do it because he can't do it? I'm not going to come up here and say Trey Benson doesn't have good hands. I just don't know if he does because he quite literally caught just 20 balls this past year and 13 the year prior for the Seminoles. So I worry a little bit about that. Don't know if it's because he can't or they didn't ask him to, but I would like to see a running back be a little bit more well-rounded. Overall, I like the prospect of Benson. I like his upside, speed, power, downhill running. He needs to be in a system where it's one cut and go. I'm not sure how the Giants are going to evolve their running game under new offensive line coach Corum. I think he has a high floor in this league. I wonder what his ceiling is as some of the things like pass catching and I would say slow lateral movement somewhat concern me a little bit. What do you think, though? Should the Giants draft Trey Benson in the NFL draft? I think running back is a need for this team. I just don't know if I'm going to pick one in round 2, round 3, or round 4. And I'm not sure Benson will be on the board when the Giants are on the clock in day 3. So I'll ask you, type D for draft, type P for pass. Coming up next, I'll tell you where I have Trey Benson ranked compared to other running backs in this class. We'll go through my top 6. And then I'll also give you a little bit of a bonus guy as well that scared me a little bit, but I was really high on him prior to the combine. That's around the corner. Right now, though, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor, Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the game. Check them out. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. All you do is create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply choose more or less on their projected stat line. It's easy. And it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. And now is the time to play. You got March Madness coming to a close tonight, the national championship. And this is a lineup that I'm rolling with. I think Stephon Castle's going to have a big game. Give me the more on his points at 11. And then Zach Edey. I've been riding the Zach Edey hype train all tourney long, dating back to last year when people told me I didn't know ball and they told me he would go undrafted. And I told you wrong. He's going to go in the lottery this year. I think he's going to have a big game. Give me more than 24.5 points. This is the lineup I'm rolling with. You can roll with my picks or fade my picks, but I kindly ask you to support the show and to support the sponsor and play Prize Picks. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. And after March Madness, it's NBA Madness. The NBA playoffs are about 2 weeks away. Get hooked up with them right now. 100% deposit bonus with the promo code CLNS. All righty, let's close the show trying to rank these running back prospects. It's so hard to do this, and I know I'm going to be wrong on some of these guys. I'm not trying to act like I'm some sort of scout that can see it, but my eyes don't lie. And the #1 back in this class is Jonathon Brooks, the running back out of Texas. I know he's coming off a major knee injury, as my producer Sam Brown out of Oklahoma gives me a horns down. If I had a yellow flag, I'd throw it at him for 15 yards on sportsmanlike conduct. That's so soft, by the way. But he is the most complete runner in this draft class. I love his balance. I think he's really good at maintaining his balance through contact. Call that contact balance for the draft nerds out there. Shout out to them. And he has a low center of gravity, and I think that really helps in the NFL. If there was one thing I didn't love about him is his straight line speed, which not the best in this class, but his burst, his stop, his start, he is explosive. He really, really is, and I like the runner that he is, and I think the production lines up with everything that you see on tape. This past year for Texas, he was really, really good. Over 6 yards per carry, 11 total touchdowns, almost 1,150 yards. only really 1 year of elite production. It's always been a crowded running back room with Bijan Robinson at UT. But I think the guy's special, and I think he's the #1 running back in this class. Just the most complete back. I like the running style. I think he's going to be good in this league. I don't think he goes in round 1. I don't think any running back does. If there's a guy that I am absolutely in love with at the running back position, and I want to say he's my RB1, but I'm being a little bit scared, is Jaylen Wright out of Tennessee. I did a mock draft a couple of weeks ago. I had the Giants selecting him in round 2, and I would not be mad at all if they did that. Explosive athlete. Electric runner with legit home run speed. When he hits the sideline, it looks like he's turning the corner on a 200-meter dash. He is special. One of the best yards per carry backs in this class. He's dynamic in the backfield, running the ball, and as a pass catcher. I think needs to be a little bit better when it comes to patience and diagnosing a defense and attacking running lanes, but he is a special back, and you compare him to a fellow Tennessee Volunteer. You'll get what Alvin Kamara did for Tennessee back in 2015. His stats, they stack up just with him, and they are slightly better. 283 carries for Jaylen Wright this past year, nearly 1,900 rushing yards. It's the 6.6 yards per carry that I am in love with. Anytime he touches the football, he is a threat to go the distance. And as we know, explosive plays equals points. And the way you win in this league is by scoring more points. Explosive plays are so critical. You compare him to another running back in this class who we'll talk about around the corner, and Blake Corum, and they are the complete opposite type of runners, in my opinion. I think Blake Corum is your guy that's going to get you a dirty 3 or a dirty 4. Jaylen Wright may be 1 yard, -1, 2, and then 35, then -2. So completely different runners. Look at the breakaway percentage for Jaylen Wright, over 52%. People think, though, because he weighed in at just 210 pounds, that you can knock him off his tracks. 592 yards after contact. A whole more yard per carry when it comes compared to Blake Corum. You look at what he did at the combine, and he showed you the athletic traits down in Indy. 4.38 yards per carry. He is 4.38 40-yard dash, excuse me. He is an explosive runner. You see that in all of the drills that he went through. His 10-yard split was awesome. His 20-yard split was awesome. On a scale of 1 to 10, the relative athletic score graded him out as a 9.8. He is a special athlete, and I would love to see him in this offense. Another player that I think I'm higher on than others in this class is Marshawn Lloyd, the running back at a USC. Great stop-start explosiveness and shiftiness. He has quality hands, and he shows that he has the ability to win in space, although he didn't have the most reps in his college career. He is the guy, compared to Trey Benson, that can make you miss in a phone booth. He is side to side, start-stop, eating up grass, north and south runner, but could also go east and west and be really good as there. I think he needs to work as a pass protector, not the most willing, but that can come in the NFL. We saw Saquon Barkley at one point be the worst, and he turned into one of the best. The tape is awesome. The advanced analytics are awesome, and just the production was great. Started out at South Carolina, didn't get the most usage until 2022, but when he transferred to USC this past year and he got the touches, he produced 7.1 yards per carry. I don't want to fall in love with that in college football because it could be so misleading, but the tape matches up with that. He is a true home run hitter. He's someone that can go the distance. I'm a big fan of his, and I thought he tested well at the combine. The thing that I really liked about him was when you watched his tape, you thought he was a 200-pound back, and maybe he played at 200 pounds or 205 pounds, but he weighed in at 220, and he threw up 25 reps on the bench, ran a 4.48 40. All that checks out for me, an 8.62 grade from the relative athletic score from MathBomb on Twitter. I'm a fan of him, and I think that his ability to read the line of scrimmage and attack where he wants to run is some of the best ability that he has compared to other backs in this class. Another guy that I'm really high on, and I understand why people aren't considering he will turn 25 years old in the NFL draft this year, is Ray Davis, the running back out of Kentucky. He looked really, really good at the Senior Bowl. He was considered one of the big winners there. I love his footwork. I think he's a great one-cut-and-go type of runner. I think he always has that balance. He is always just in a good, solid position to be explosive. The long speed is just average, and he will turn 25 years old this season. So I do understand why some people don't really love the idea of drafting a 24-and-a-half-year-old running back that doesn't have home run hitting ability. but I think he's a sneaky athlete. I think he's got some deceptive speed to him. I think if you're sleeping on his speed, he'll run by you. And we saw that with Kentucky, but a physical runner, downhill runner, runs through contact, and the stats, they showed that. 5.7 yards per carry, over 21 total touchdowns this past year. Has had a lot of work in college, so I understand why that may be a concern for some. Almost 500 carries over the last 2 seasons, but I'm a big fan of his. Didn't really test all that well at the combine, so that's another reason why some people have him outside of their top 5, top 6, and things like that. But, man, he's a good back. 5'9", 5'8", 211 pounds, only a 4.5 40. I'm not going to worry too much about the combine stuff. All these staffs have the GPS stuff that the college coaches and staff use, so I'm not worried about that. I like Ray Davis. He's my RB4 in this class. Maybe the most controversial back in this class, Blake Corum. I've got him at RB5. He is the definition of a college superstar. He really, really is. I think he has a rare talent for finding running lanes and fitting into small crevices. And I just like the competitive nature that he runs with. He runs with heart, all grit, all grind, all the time, empties the tank anytime he touches the football field. The size and creativity at the second level is just average. He's not going to be a guy that's going to beat you down the sideline for 20 and 50, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45-yard runs. But when it's 3rd and 3 and you need someone to go get you 3.5, he'll put his nose in there. Plays bigger than the size he is. We know he's one of the smaller backs in this class. But the thing that I think I am most concerned about is already had major knee surgery in college and almost 600 carries, just under 600 carries really in the last 2 years. And if you go back to 2021, he had another 144 there. So a lot of wear and tear already on Corum, but there's no doubt about it. He is one of the most gifted runners of the football in this class. Didn't test all that well at the combine. No, I don't think anybody expected him to blow people away. But he is small, 5'7", 205 pounds, but the dude is strong. 27 bench press reps, 4.5 40, not too worried about that. It's the composite agility grade that I do fall in love with. The short shuttle and the 3-cone drill graded out at some of the best in this class. Despite being very small and despite not having a great 40-yard dash, he was still graded out as an 8.3 relative athletic score. So that's my top 5, and that's where I got Trey Benson. I got Trey Benson as my RB6. Some people have him as their RB1, and I get that. I think he has a very, very high floor. So I understand. I think he's pro-ready, and he could be a lead back in an offense this year. I just wonder what the ceiling is for him. Bucky Irving. Coming out of the season, I loved Bucky Irving. The start-stop, the wiggle, the ability to make people miss, and just have very good timing as a running back. He knows how to set up his blocks and also set up defenders to make them miss, which he did at one of the highest rates in college football. But I don't know if he was hurt at the combine. I don't know what happened. I watch a guy and I'm like, that guy's 4.4. That guy is elite. He's an elite athlete. And he goes out and runs a 4.5 40. And you would think that his 10-yard split and his 20-yard split would be good because of the explosiveness he shows on tape. But those were just middle of the pack, as the relative athletic score would say, just an okay speed rating. But he's a guy that my eyes tell me he's going to be a very, very successful, at minimum, 3rd down back in this league. We've gone through 7 running backs in today's show, and there's many others that I'm sure you guys are fans of. So let's hear from you. Who do you want the Giants to draft at the running back position this year? Give me a name down in the comments section. Make sure to give me a follow over on social media at @MarshallGreen_ on Twitter, as well as on Instagram. And hit that thumbs up icon on your way out.